That day was a Sunday. It was cloudy, early morning.
It was kind of a cold February, kind of misty, light rain, light drizzle.
So the windshield wipers are going, and I remember we were listening to Clint Black on the radio.
Sunday, the last day of February, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was looking for a man who called himself David Koresh, the leader of a religious sect called the Branch Davidians. Dozens of ATF special agents moved onto the land they'd been surveilling for weeks, suspecting a cache of stockpiled weapons and sexual misconduct. But the Branch Davidians knew they were coming.
My job assignment that day was to control individuals that intelligence had shown us were going to be outside of the compound working in an area next to the main residence.
His radio got shot off.
Robert Elder is a retired ATF special agent in charge and was in the lead truck during the raid.
I stepped out of the truck and before I got both legs out of the truck, the gunfire had erupted.
You can tell somebody's out there shooting at us. We didn't know who they were.
Clive Doyle was a Branch Davidian and lived at Mount Carmel.
It was like all hell broke loose. There was just this huge volley of gunfire coming into the building from outside in the vicinity of the front door, and I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a bloodbath.
Nobody ever dreamed that it would end up in a brutal shootout like it did.
Parnell McNamara, now a sheriff, was a deputy U.S. Marshal at the time. He was there to identify and secure those sought in the warrants and was outside the compound standing by.
We went up to the car that had just driven up and listened to his radio, and it was really bad. People were screaming they've been shot. They shot me again. I'm up against the building. I'm cold.
In addition, they were throwing explosive devices at us. They had homemade hand grenades.
All of the destruction, all of the shooting was totally unnecessary. They claimed that we shot first, that we had it all set up like an ambush for them, waiting for them to come, and that's a whole bunch of hokum.
Law enforcement, we don't just randomly shoot at people. There has to be a viable threat. I think there's no question in my mind that the Davidians fired that first shot.
When the gunfire stopped, 6 Branch Davidians and 4 ATF agents were dead. More than a dozen were injured.
When it hits, oh, it was unbelievable. You have to understand, it was so frightening.
Val LaCour was the first video journalist at the hospital. He was there when those first ambulances arrived.
After the second load of ATF agents had come in, and when I say come in, man, I mean just wounded. You got flesh and things. You know, you had agents bringing agents to the hospital.
It was complete chaos.
Debbie Johnson Head was the first ABC 13 reporter on the scene.
Is an offshoot of the 7th.
She remembers the lack of details and the confusion.
I had only the information that there was a shootout, there was a compound, it involved federal agents, and could we get there and see what was going on?
What was going on was the start of a 51-day siege between the federal government and the Branch Davidians.
I think it was totally unnecessary what they did.
It's a defining moment. You know, I would say it was a defining moment for all of us.